The impoverished mother Luo Qiulian was very distressed. My husband is missing, and my child is only 5 years old. How can I make a lot of money? Ding, a peculiar nanny god system suddenly appeared. She suddenly transformed into a billionaire woman and said, "So my smart son is my golden finger." From then on, owning a luxury house, buying a luxury car, and reversing life, her pursuers lined up from the villa entrance to country F, keywords of the novel. Naiwa helps me become a super godly treasure mom. No pop-ups. Naiwa helps me become a super godly treasure mom. Complete TXT download. Naiwa helps me become a super godly treasure mom. Latest chapter reading. 1, Chapter 1. Is Naiwa my golden finger? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Is Naiwa my golden finger? What kind of online article topic can I write with a monthly fee of over 10,000 yuan? Luo Qiulian, who was nearly 30 years old, sat in agony in front of her tattered notebook on the brink of retirement. She is a precious mother, and her husband is a missing person. She not only needs to support her 5-year-old son to attend kindergarten, but also needs to enroll him in special skills classes. No money, I want to earn. How to earn it? At this moment, a sentence suddenly rang out in Luo Qiulian's mind. Ding! Your biological son Luo Qiulian just successfully drew a 500 square meter 3-story villa in kindergarten, helping you activate the Naiwa Shinbi Tuali system. From now on, any item your son draws can be realized through this system with your encouragement and support. If you want to own this villa, please confirm its address with your son within 24 hours. After 24 hours, this item will no longer be realized. Please note that anything you actively ask your son to draw cannot be realized through this system. Only the items he wants to draw on his own can be realized through this system with your cooperation. And because your son is still young, he can only be realized twice every 7 days. After 7 days, it will refresh at midnight. At the same time, Luo Qiulian also had an additional holographic panel frame in front of her, with the same text description appearing. Luo Qiulian was taken aback. A few seconds later, as she realized, she suddenly sat up straight and said, "System." There is a response in the panel. I'm here. Is there really a system? But why was it activated by my son, not me? This system aims to enhance the parent-child relationship between you and your son, giving him a happy childhood. The above are all polite words, and most importantly, your son is smarter and more nurturing than you. Hee hee. Luo Qiulian smiled happily. I'm stupid, right? It's okay, as long as my son is smarter than me. As for the appearance of this house, we'll talk about it when our son comes back. Half an hour later, when it was time to pick up her son from kindergarten, Luo Qiulian suddenly had a flash of inspiration. In the Word document on the computer screen, she typed out the outline. Naiwa helps me be a super godly treasure mom. Take this system as the golden finger of the new book. Although my son activated the system, he is still too young and should play happily instead of sharing her financial burden too early. So, she still needs to earn enough royalties as soon as possible. Half an hour later. In the middle-class classroom of Isan Kindergarten, which is only 2 kilometers away from home by electric car, Luo Qiulian received the cute and adorable little handsome Luo Qiulian from among the many milk dolls. The tall and strong Luo Qiulian is one of the most beautiful in the class, and is particularly popular among teachers because of this. After politely bowing to her son and teacher carrying a small backpack, Luo Qiulian led his soft and tender little hand down the stairs and asked with a smile, "Song, what happy thing did you do in class today?" She didn't help her son carry his backpack so that he could learn to take on his own responsibilities from a young age. Luo Qiulian immediately said with great pride, "Mom, I drew a very large villa today, which was drawn after my chess brother's home. The teacher praised me for drawing very similar. So, Brother Qi is Mo Yinqi, the son of Luo Qiulian's cousin Mo Yuman. My cousin is in the building materials business and has made some money. Our home is decorated beautifully, and Luo Qiulian often takes her son to play there. His son also enjoys playing there. Luo Qiulian suddenly knew what the layout of this villa was, but she was a bit puzzled. Oh, Song is really amazing. However, Mom doesn't understand why you drew Brother Qi's villa. Why didn't you draw ours? Luo Qiulian immediately answered confidently. Luo Qiulian said he wants to paint a big house. Of course, I also want to paint a big house. I don't know how to paint. And Luo Qiulian is another little boy in the class. It turned out to be a child's competitive spirit. Luo Qiulian understood and saw the cute and adorable appearance of the little handsome boy. She immediately smiled and praised him. Yes, Song is great. He didn't learn to paint for free. In the future, Song may become a great painter. Luo Qiulian was praised as he wished, and his clear eyes sparkled with joy. From now on, I want to be the most powerful painter. The mother and son happily returned home and quickly finished their dinner. Just as Luo Qiulian had finished washing the dishes, she saw Luo Qiulian excitedly running into the kitchen and saying, "Mom, come and see my painting." This kid can't wait to reveal his treasure to her. Luo Qiulian chuckled and quickly wiped her hands dry. She followed him into the study and saw a painted A4 paper on the table. Luo Qiulian pointed at it eagerly and asked her, "Mom, look, this is the villa I drew. Isn't it very similar?" Luo Qiulian fixed her gaze and was truly surprised. Gardens, doors, windows, rooftops, and the like, all have the appearance of a villa. For a 5-year-old boy, this painting is very similar, although there is some distortion in size. However, if it can pass the system's testing, it must be qualified. Luo Qiulian applauded sincerely and said, "Yes, baby, you really look like me." Seeing that Luo Qiulian's big eyes were smugly smiling and squinting into a slit, and her pink mouth was also happy enough to reveal her white baby teeth, Luo Qiulian's heart moved and she immediately asked, "Son, this villa is so beautiful. Do you want to go in and play?" Luo Qiulian was taken aback for a moment, then restrained his smile and blinked in amazement, questioning her, "Mom, this is painted on paper. How can you go in and play?" Luo Qiulian is sweating profusely. It seems that a 5-year-old child can already fly between reality and virtuality. But can you fully unleash your imagination? Imagine it's a game. Do you want to go in and play? Luo Qiulian's eyes lit up immediately, and he pretended to nod seriously. Yes. And, Mom, I not only want to go in and play, but I also want to go in and live. He looked at Luo Qiulian expectantly and said, "It's best for Mom to live with me." Feeling her son's deep attachment, Luo Qiulian felt a sweet smile in her heart and said, "Well, of course Mom will live with her baby. But if you want to go in and play and live, you need to think carefully about where this villa is, what its name is, and it must belong to Mom so that we can live together, right?" Luo Qiulian immediately nodded vigorously at his little head. "Yes, it belongs to us so that we can stay inside forever. So, I want it right next to Brother Qi's house, so that I can go to Brother Qi's house every day to play in the future." He looked at Luo Qiulian eagerly and said, "Mom, I know that the villa area of Brother Qi's house is called Zunda Mansion, but I can't write. Can you teach me?" This child, draw inferences from other cases. "Okay." Luo Qiulian exclaimed joyfully, responding in unison and reaching out, "Here's the pen." "All right." Luo Qiulian's spirit lifted and he immediately took out a blank piece of paper and a pencil from his backpack and handed them to her. Luo Qiulian smiled and bent down, writing the 4 characters Zunda Mansion stroke by stroke on this blank piece of paper. Then, she put down her pen and gestured for her son to learn how to write. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. A large villa falls from the sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. A large villa falls from the sky. Luo Qiulian quickly sat down on the chair, picked up the pen, and slowly and seriously copied down these 4 words on the villa he had drawn, adding a large number of 5. Although the handwriting is crooked and small, appearing immature, it is indeed written correctly. Then, he lifted his small face and said, "Mom, Brother Chessa's house is in building 4, and I'm bigger than him. And I know that building 5 is unoccupied, so our villa is building 5. Luo Qiulian looked at him in surprise and quickly applauded, "Wow, my dear, how clever you are. System, no wonder you chose my son. Fu." At this moment, the sound of the system rang out in her mind. "Ding, your son has chosen a suitable place to place the villa. This task has been completed ahead of schedule, and we would like to reward you with the 5th villa in the Zunda mansion on Leiming Road. The room book, access card, key, and land use certificate have all been placed on the bedside table of your old bedroom." "Oh ho, so happy, just gave me the room book and access card. This is really a stroke of genius. With an unintentional stroke, the world will drop a big villa to smash my beautiful mother." Excited, Luo Qiulian applauded her son even more fervently. Seeing him grin wide, Luo Qiulian touched his big head again and generously praised him. "All right, son, please put away this painting now and go watch the animation. Mom will put away the kitchen first and take you out to play later." Later, when Luo Qiulian happily put away his paintings, ran out of the study, and turned on the TV in the living room, Luo Qiulian eagerly walked into the bedroom and opened the drawer of the bedside table. "Ha, there are indeed many large red houses, land use certificates, access cards, and door keys in the 5th building of Zunda Mansion." Luo Qiulian smiled unusually happily. "My baby, you are really my mother's lucky star. Go and take a look at this villa that has been exposed tomorrow." She hummed a song in a great mood and returned to the kitchen to continue picking up clothes, then went to the balcony to collect and fold clothes. However, as soon as she had finished stacking all her clothes and put them in the wardrobe, Luo Qiulian quickly rushed over and raised his small face to reach out to her. "Mom, can you give me your bank card number for the collection fee?" "Ah!" Luo Qiulian exclaimed in surprise, "Why?" "Because I want to draw your bank card." Luo Qiulian said naturally. Mei Yangyang said that living in a big villa requires hiring many servants and spending a lot of money, so I want to draw my mother's bank card and put a lot of money inside. So, that must be given. What if the system can also be implemented? Luo Qiulian immediately went into the bedroom, took out her collection fee bank card from the drawer, handed it to her son, and then followed him into the study. I saw a piece of painting paper on the table of the sky blue wooden desk. On the paper, there is a rectangular card pattern with a background color, and the symbol of the universe is drawn crookedly. You can tell at a glance that it's a bank card. Next to it was written crookedly, 9,999,999,999 yuan. Luo Qiulian's eyes immediately straightened. So many 9. Counting more carefully, Luo Qiulian instinctively covered her mouth. The heart thumped uncontrollably. Surprisingly. 9 megabytes. Son, you are so amazing. You even drew a bank deposit of over 9 trillion yuan for your mother. This is really a golden mountain falling from the sky. No, I need to confirm again. Don't misunderstand. Luo Qiulian took a deep breath and nervously looked at Luo Qiulian, who was sitting down to copy the card number. Son, why did you write so many numbers? Luo Qiulian immediately replied proudly, it was Teacher Lily who said that the maximum number is megabytes, so I need to put over 9 trillion yuan in my mother's bank card. Oh, son, you are really domineering. Choose the biggest one for everything. Luo Qiulian looked at the cute child in front of her in surprise, then gave a high thumbs up and said, smart memories are really good. I remember everything the teacher said. Of course, she also gave birth to such a smart child. Song Song was immediately encouraged to open his baby teeth and smile, then arrogantly said, "Oh, Mom, don't disturb me anymore. I need to quickly copy down the card number." Oh, her little darling would even despise her for making trouble. Luo Qiulian immediately pretended to do a zipper action on her lips. Song Song was immediately satisfied, turned her head, placed her bank card above the drawing, and began copying numbers on the rectangle. He reads while copying, but the speed is a bit slow. However, because I copied carefully, every number was written clearly. 2 minutes later, Song Song successfully completed writing the card number. Although it is written in various sizes and crooked, it is written correctly. Just as Luo Qiulian breathed a sigh of relief, the sound of the system rang in her mind. Ding, your biological son Luo Qiulian, with your support, has just successfully drawn a bank card that belongs to you, with a balance of 9,999,999,999,999 yuan. This bank card can be realized. Due to its large amount, in order to avoid global financial turmoil, this system will transfer 10 billion yuan to your bank card every month until it is fully transferred. Later, Luo Qiulian received a payment notification via mobile phone text message. At first glance at the phone, yes, it really earned 10 billion yuan. She's rich now. A lot of money. Even more than Jin Shan. Luo Shenhao Baoma and Qiulian laughed silently. Son, you are too divine. It's forcing the system not to give us money all at once. Later, Luo Qiulian saw Luo Qiulian proudly turn her head, look at herself, and loudly announce, "Mom, I've finished writing." That sparkling eyes, and that little face eagerly waiting for praise, really like a little angel sent by heaven. Luo Qiulian, who was unusually cheerful, couldn't help but clap her hands vigorously and smile uncontrollably, saying, "Baby, you painted very well. That's great." Seeing Xiamengwa grinning happily, Luo Qiulian hugged his small body tightly and said, "Baby, Mom loves you very much, very, very much. Thank you for making Mom the super rich in this world. From now on, there will be no more economic pressure. So, the furniture and decorations of this villa must be carefully designed by oneself to make the baby like it." That night, perhaps because she had no pressure to support her family, Luo Qiulian hugged Song Song and slept for her first peaceful sleep since her husband's disappearance. The next morning, the refreshing Luo Qiulian sent the reluctant Luo Qiulian to kindergarten as usual, and rode an electric bike alone. About 10 minutes later, she arrived at the site of Zunda Mansion with great anticipation. Previously, although she had visited Zunda Mansion multiple times, she only came as a guest of her cousin's family, and her heart was filled with envy. And now, she is the owner of the Zunda Mansion. The security guard at the entrance patrol knew her and quickly cleared her way. She followed the familiar asphalt road ahead, crossed several row villas and detached villas, rode all the way to her cousin's villa, and then found her fifth villa, the Green View Garden. What a big villa! In the future, it belongs to itself. That's great. Park, open the door, and enter the front yard. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Viewing Furniture. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Viewing Furniture. There is a garage and roadway in the yard, as well as a cobblestone path leading to the entrance door. There is a lush tree next to the high wall, which exudes coolness. Open the door again and enter the house. Oh, it's actually well decorated. I don't know what brand of tiles the floor is, it looks very upscale. The walls are smooth and the floor height is very satisfying. I walked around upstairs and downstairs again, basically similar to my cousin's villa, but with a larger area. The overall layout is very good, and the lighting is also very good. It's just that without furniture, we can't live immediately. Such a large villa requires better furniture to match. She then rode her electric bike to the Red Dragon National Chain Furniture City, which is 3 kilometers away from home. There are many top global furniture brands here. So there are many customers coming and going at the entrance, which is very popular. On the nearly 2,000 square meter square, there is also a large balloon fluttering. Warm congratulations to Sophia Furniture Chief Designer Lu Mimi for winning the National Livable Furniture Design Gold Award for 3 consecutive times. Winning 3 consecutive gold medals. That's worth trying. However, it may be that the advertising effect is too good, as there are many people in the Sophia Furniture area at this time. Luo Qiulian first went to other stores on the same floor to take a stroll, and only entered the store when there were noticeably fewer people in this area. Well, this brand of furniture uses the most solid materials, even the screws are very exquisite. The style is diverse, with European style, pastoral style, and retro palace style, and the color matching is quite coordinated. As for the price. Does she still need to consider the price now? At this moment, she saw the wife of a young couple frowning and saying to a lightly dressed female receptionist, "Oh my, how could your company do this? You just won a design gold medal and started picking customers. You even looked down on the furniture design of a 150 square meter house." This wife is wearing a shiny platinum diamond necklace and diamond ring, dressed fashionably, and obviously comes from a decent family background. The light makeup female salesperson apologetically explained, "Beauty, I'm sorry, it's not that we're picking customers. There are too many customers looking for Mr. Lu, and she's really busy. That's why our company has to establish such rules. In fact, our company also has many good designers who have won national gold and silver awards in the past. You don't have to look for Mr. Lu." The young wife immediately pursed her lips and said, "If you want to customize furniture, you must find the best designer. Otherwise, we might as well buy ready-made furniture. Why bother customizing it?" Luo Qiulian's gaze turned and she immediately approached to ask, "Why, Chief Lu doesn't take furniture design orders below 150 square meters." No. The light makeup female salesperson quickly explained, "Because there have been too many customers looking for Mr. Lu to design furniture recently, our company has introduced new regulations that only allow her to design single-story units with a building area greater than 200 square meters or less than 50 square meters, as well as villas with a building area greater than 500 square meters. These 3 types of houses, due to their small or large size, are more challenging in furniture design and are more likely to further enhance Mr. Lu's level." Luo Qiulian's displeasure in her heart suddenly decreased significantly. Turns out it's not just about designing furniture for large apartments, but also for small apartments. That's not to say that you despise poverty and love wealth. But the young wife still grumbled in displeasure, You can say it easily. How many flat houses in our city have a building area of over 200 square meters? There are not many villas over 500 square meters. Not many, but there are still some." The light makeup female clerk still maintained a good smile. "Moreover, our company's design business is not limited to this city, but also to other cities and provinces." As the young wife hesitated for a moment, the light makeup female salesperson said, "Besides, design is originally a very mental task that requires time to think carefully. We have specially divided the reception area for the designers, so that they will not be too tired and have more time to settle, learn, and improve, in order to ensure the quality of service for the customers they have already received." Seeing the faces of the other 2 groups of customers who were dressed in decent clothes looking resentful, Luo Qiulian smiled slightly and said, "That's just right. I have a simple villa located in Zunda Mansion, with a building area of 507 square meters. I think I am qualified to invite Mr. Lu to do a full set of furniture design." Ah! Several groups of customers present were all stunned, and then they all looked at her again, with suspicion in their eyes. The lady in the light makeup shop was also taken aback, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. She immediately leaned back and tentatively said, "I'm sorry, madam. As far as I know, only the 5th villa in Zunda Mansion has the building area that meets our requirements, but it has not been sold yet." "Do you know so much about Zunda Mansion?" "Fortunately, I am prepared. Luo Qiulian calmly took out the room notebook from her handbag and opened it, shining in front of her. Then your information is outdated. I don't know whether to consider the ownership of the house when customizing furniture, so I brought the room notebook. You can take a closer look. The man and the young couple couldn't help but exclaim in shock, wow, so straightforward. The other customers were also very surprised. The light makeup female salesperson was taken aback, quickly took the room book and looked at it, then apologized to Luo Qiulian, "Oh, I'm sorry, that was indeed our news falling behind." At this moment, an older woman with heavy makeup walked over with a smile. The lady with light makeup quickly handed her the room book and then introduced it to Luo Qiulian, "Ms. Luo, this is our store manager, Sister Mei." Mei Jie took the room notebook, carefully examined it, and respectfully handed it back to her with both hands. "Ms. Luo, you do meet our company's regulations. Mr. Lu can come and help you design your villa furniture. Please sit here." She led Luo Qiulian to the slightly back leather sofa and instructed the light makeup female clerk Xiaoyuan to pour Luo Qiulian a cup of warm water. Later, Mei brought another tablet and after a few clicks on the screen, she showed it to Luo Qiulian, saying, "This is Mr. Lu's previous design. You can first take a look and see if you like it." Compared to the group of customers sitting on the sofa outside, her treatment has clearly taken it to a higher level. Luo Qiulian pondered to herself, and after reading a few pages, she quite liked it. She looked up and asked Mei, "Is the design fee for Mr. Lu calculated separately? How much does it cost? How much does it cost to make a complete set of furniture?" Mei smiled and said, "Before Mr. Lu won the prize, the design fee was already 2,500 yuan per square meter, and now the design fee has not increased. It's still at this price. Based on your villa, the total is 1.27 million yuan. Shoo." Luo Qiulian faintly heard a few faint gasps not far away. Then there was a low-key discussion. "Are you crazy? The design fee is over 1.2 million yuan. With this money, you can buy a lot of good furniture." "Yeah, I heard that many well-known designers charge 1,000 yuan per square meter, but Mr. Lu's is too expensive. Even for a small 50 square meter apartment, the design fee is 120,000 yuan. It's better to buy more furniture." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Our Family Money, I Make the Decision. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Our Family Money, I Make the Decision. Luo Qiulian was also very surprised. However, on second thought, this is the celebrity effect, the weight of knowledge. Perhaps one day, her manuscript fee will be even higher than this. And for her now, 1.27 million is just a drop in the bucket. Luo Qiulian smiled slightly and said, "As long as the design is good, I can accept it. Standing in front of you, I am already a wealthy person, so there is no need to bargain in front of you for tens of thousands of yuan." So, she heard several silent comments and said, "Ah, did you really agree? She doesn't even negotiate. Are wealthy people so wealthy now?" Mei's eyes lit up and she immediately smiled like a flower. "Ms. Luo, you can understand. However, Mr. Lu has quite a few customers in his hands, so you still need to wait in line." Luo Qiulian's gaze turned slightly and asked her, "How many places can I rank currently?" "Please wait a moment, I'll go and ask," said the shop assistant Xiao Yuan on the side. At this moment, another new customer entered the store. Mei quickly apologized to Luo Qiulian and went over to receive her. The young wife, who had been looking over here before, boldly walked over and sat down next to Luo Qiulian, curiously asking, "Sister, won't you ask your husband about the design fee of over 1.2 million yuan? Luo Qiulian smelled the light perfume on her body, elegant but not vulgar, smiled slightly and confidently said, "I am the master of our family's money." The young wife was taken aback for a moment, and then exclaimed enviously, "You're really amazing. Unlike our family, we have to discuss everything we buy with him." At this moment, the Xiaoyuan store clerk walked over apologetically after calling and said, "Ms. Luo, it's like this. I just confirmed that before you, there were already 3 customers looking for Mr. Lu to design furniture, so you have to wait for at least 3 weeks. Moreover, the design fee needs to be prepaid." "What?" the young wife exclaimed again. "Do we still need to prepay over 1.2 million yuan? What if it's not satisfactory?" Xiao Yuan glanced at her and confidently said, "Our CEO Lu's design proposal has never been unsatisfactory to customers." Mei walked back with a smile and said, "Little sister, Chief Lu has taken the initiative to design furniture, and that's the market trend. Are you so confident?" "That's right, after all, it's the champion who won the national gold medal for 3 consecutive years. They have this confidence." After some thought, Luo Qiulian smiled and said, "I'm not in a hurry to stay in that house. I can wait. When will the energy size be after the prepayment?" The wife was suddenly surprised and widened her eyes, then exclaimed with envy, "Sister, are you really paying in advance? You're really rich." Luo Qiulian smiled slightly. "Yes, I am rich. And it's not just ordinary money. I don't care if a few million yuan is prepaid or paid later." Xiaoyuan looked at the situation and quickly said, "All right, Ms. Luo, let me first tell you about our Mr. Lu's process. After you have paid the design fee in advance, we will arrange for measurement personnel to come and measure the dimensions within a week, and have you meet with Mr. Lu to discuss. If we cannot arrange it within a week, we can double the design fee, which can be included in the design contract. Once the design plan is confirmed, we will sign the contract. After that, the delivery will take 2.5 months. We will provide free door-to-door installation and offer a 10-year warranty." Luo Qiulian didn't have too strict requirements for this time, so she smiled slightly and nodded again, "Sure. So, can we sign the design contract now?" Xiaoyuan was stunned for a moment, then gave a thumbs up in admiration and said, "You're such a pleasure. Please wait a moment." Half an hour later, under the envious gaze of many onlookers, Luo Qiulian signed a contract with the store to commission the chief designer, Mr. Lu, to design the villa furniture, and paid a discounted design fee of 1.25 million yuan. When she returned home, Luo Qiulian opened her laptop and slightly polished the process of her mansion and bank card as the beginning of the story of Naiwa helps me be a super god and treasure mom. So, the first scene of installing B is customizing furniture. Time passes silently in the construction of the story plot. Kindergarten included lunch, so Luo Qiulian casually heated up last night's fresh food for lunch. She didn't take a nap and continued writing until she received a phone call from her mother. In Luo Nye Haiqing in the afternoon. "Qiulian, why don't you bring Song Song over for dinner tomorrow? Your father and I both miss him." Since her husband Luo Qifan went missing on a business trip 2 years ago, her recently retired parents-in-law have moved out to live with their uncle Luo Qiqiang's family. Luo Qiulian usually takes care of her son alone at home, and on weekends, the mother and son take turns spending half a day at their parents' and in-laws' homes. Last week, Luo Qiulian only returned to her mother's house, so she happily agreed to take her son to visit her father-in-law and mother-in-law tomorrow afternoon. When Song Song was brought home from kindergarten for dinner, she announced the news. "Okay." Song Song obediently replied, "I also want to play with brother Che. After a pause, he cautiously asked her again, "Mom, can you buy me another new kettle? My kettle spout is broken and it's so difficult to open. Today, I had to ask teacher Lily to pour water for me." Luo Qiulian was taken aback for a moment, then felt guilty and said, "Okay, we'll go buy it later." When she was full, she quickly picked up the dishes, collected the clothes on the balcony, and then rode an electric bike with Song Song to the nearest Mommy's beloved chain store to buy a new kettle. As soon as he entered the store, a short and sturdy little boy with big eyes happily rushed towards Luo Qiunsong and said, "Oh, Luo Qiunsong. Luo Qiulian was taken aback and then exclaimed with joy, Song Yifan. Why are you here? Are you buying toys? He turned back and explained to Luo Qiulian, Mom, he's from our kindergarten. Luo Qiulian suddenly realized and smiled slightly at the young mother following closely behind Song Yifan. At this moment, Song Yifan proudly said, I'm not buying toys. I'm here to buy snacks. My mother said that the day after tomorrow, our family will go to Luo Lake to play barbecue and camping for a day. After a pause, his eyes suddenly lit up and he said, Hey, Luo Qiulian, do you want to go to Luo Lake to play barbecue together? It's so fun there. Ah! Luo Qiulian was momentarily stunned. Yifan's mother on the side was also taken aback, but immediately smiled and explained to Luo Qiulian with relief, Yes, we will take his grandparents to Luo Lake for barbecue the day after tomorrow. We will go in the morning and come back in the evening. Do you want to come and play together, Song's mother? Before Luo Qiulian could answer, Luo Qiulian turned his head and looked at her eagerly, Mom, I want to go play. Yes, she hasn't taken her children out to play for weeks in order to save money. Besides, the child also received an invitation from the children this time. Luo Qiulian was about to make a statement when she saw Song Yifan eagerly looking at her and saying, Auntie, can you bring Luo Qiulian to Luo Lake to barbecue with us the day after tomorrow? I really want to play with him. Moreover, it's very beautiful and fun there. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Being a person should have self-knowledge. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Being a person must have self-knowledge. This child is so polite. Luo Qiulian smiled and said, Of course you can. Great. Song Yifan immediately jumped excitedly. Luo Qiulian widened his eyes in disbelief and said, Mom, really? Luo Qiulian affectionately touched his head and said, Yes, Mom agreed to Song Yifan's invitation and will take you the day after tomorrow. Yeah. Luo Qiulian immediately cheered. Luo Qiulian's heart was soft, and she earnestly asked Yifan's mother, who was also laughing beside her, I haven't gone to play yet. May I ask what I need to prepare? Tent. Yifan's mother immediately enthusiastically said, We have tents, chairs, and barbecue grills at home. We will buy barbecue skewers tomorrow. If you want to play, just go straight. Speaking of which, she took out her exquisite phone from her bag and said, Here, let's add a WeChat account and I'll send you the address. Okay. Luo Qiulian quickly smiled and added WeChat to her. After receiving the address she sent, the design of the sky curtain, chairs, and barbecue grill, she said that she would prepare things tomorrow and meet up there the day after tomorrow. Quickly, as Yifan's mother smiled and bid farewell, she checked out and left with Song Yifan. Song couldn't wait to ask again, Mom, will we really go to Luo Lake to play tomorrow? Yes. Luo Qiulian smiled and nodded. Mom has been rich lately, so I can take you out and have fun. Luo Qiulian's eyes lit up immediately and he asked with great joy, Really? How much money is there? Has it surpassed Uncle? More than that. Luo Qiulian said confidently, Now, Mom's money is much more than the combined money of little uncle and big uncle. Great. Luo Qiulian immediately jumped high excitedly. Mom, why don't we share a tent with Song Yifan? I want my own tent and chair. This request is very reasonable, and Luo Qiulian readily responded, Okay. Let's quickly buy a kettle now and go to the city tomorrow morning to buy tents and chairs. Luo Qiulian's eyes lit up and he immediately asked, So, can we buy a car? Otherwise, your electric car is so small that it definitely won't fit too many things. This little guy has a strong concept of space. Luo Qiulian was pleased that the baby would make such a judgment and immediately nodded, No problem. Oh, that's great. Song jumped up and down with joy. Mom, let's go buy a car early tomorrow. As a result, before 9 o'clock the next morning, Luo Qiulian was urged by the little nanny to take a taxi to the car square, which was more than 10 kilometers away. There are several Car 4S stores here, and today they happen to be at the auto show. They set up a tall exhibition booth, and more than 10 Chinese-funded and joint venture brand car dealers were participating in the exhibition. The booths near the entrance are mostly imported cars, which look shiny and very imposing. The promotional functions are also very high-tech and eye-catching. Luo Qiulian strolled around with Song Song, enjoying the sight with great interest, only feeling that none of them were good. She was completely focused on looking at the car, but didn't notice that a few steps away, a man in casual clothes stumbled upon Luo Qiulian being held by her. After a moment of contemplation, he took out his phone and took a few photos of the mother and son, then quietly walked over. As soon as Luo Qiulian leisurely led her son to the exhibition area of B-Horse, she was suddenly forcefully pulled by her son to two female salespersons, pointing to several large insulated boxes placed in front of them and exclaiming with joy, "Mom, I want to eat ice cream." At this moment, a young blonde woman had just received a sundae from a short female salesperson. Near this exhibition area, there is also a mixed-race female eating a sundae. The temperature in the exhibition area is a bit high, making this sundae ice cream look particularly cool. No wonder Song Song wants to eat, even Luo Qiulian herself has the urge to take a bite. At this moment, the tall female salesperson looked at Song Song and then at Luo Qiulian. She quickly restrained her smile and shook her head, saying, "Sorry, kid, there's no ice cream left." Luo Qiulian was taken aback. "Is that all?" Luo Qiulian was also very confused, and then reluctantly pointed to the blonde beauty who had just left and said, "You just gave that sister a drink." The short female salesperson beside her hesitated to speak, her eyes flickering. The tall female salesperson glanced at the departing blonde beauty and then glanced at Luo Qiulian with a sideways glance, still saying, "It was just a moment ago, it's not now." "Is that so? Forget it then." Luo Qiulian frowned and pulled her son away. But just a few steps away, Luo Qiulian heard a rather stiff Mandarin coming from behind. "Hey, beauty, do you still have ice cream?" She immediately turned around and saw a foreigner with blonde hair and blue eyes standing in front of the tall female salesperson with a smile. The tall female salesperson smiled all over her face and said, "Yes, please wait a moment." Seeing her quickly take out an ice cream from the thermos and hand it to the blonde man, Luo Qiulian was immediately taken aback, and then a wave of anger quickly surged in her heart. At this moment, Song Song, who was also looking back, exclaimed with great grievance, "Mom, why did she deceive me by saying she didn't have ice cream?" Luo Qiulian felt a pain in her heart and immediately turned black. She led Song Song back and asked the tall female salesperson, "Hey, what do you mean? If he wants ice cream, you can send it. If we want it, you can say no." Her loud voice immediately attracted many customers to watch the exhibition. The tall female salesperson was taken aback for a moment, then rolled her eyes in frustration and said, "I said this lady, you need to have self-awareness in your life. I said no, it's to save face for you in front of your son. Why do you want me to say you're not qualified enough before you give up?" Her voice is also loud and sharper than Luo Qiulian's voice. Seeing the few onlookers staring at her in astonishment, and her son also looking up at her in astonishment, Luo Qiulian's face immediately heated up and she became angry. Her eyebrows turned upside down and she said, "What are you saying is not qualified? What qualifications do you need to get an ice cream?" "Of course." The tall female salesperson immediately stood up proudly. "This is hottest ice cream, and at the market price outside, each one costs 38 yuan, which is very expensive. Therefore, we will only distribute this brand of ice cream to our potential customers. This handsome guy has an extraordinary aura, wearing designer clothes, which proves his strong purchasing power. I am naturally willing to send him this. Looking at you again, when you come to the car show alone with your child and wear such ordinary clothes, it's obvious that you don't have the money to buy our B carriage. So why should I send you this expensive ice cream for free? You should feel sorry for your son. You can go to the small shop outside and buy him a cheap one. There's no need to argue with me here. Later, she disdainfully rolled her eyes and muttered softly, I've been kind enough to save face for you, but I still don't appreciate it. I insist on arguing. Now, it's okay. You're losing face, right? End of this chapter. Can you prove chapter 6? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Can you prove chapter 6? Luo Qiulian was taken aback and then became furious. Her voice suddenly increased and she said, What are you talking about? This is the attitude of your horse towards customers. The tall female salesperson snorted coldly and retorted without hesitation, I'm sorry, if you want my good attitude, first of all, you must be qualified to become our customer. Are you still so arrogant? Luo Qiulian was so angry that she clenched her fingers and wanted to punch her in the face. As soon as she lifted her hand to her waist, a man's voice suddenly rang out from behind. Hey, little girl. You're going too far. You can't just curse people just because this big girl is wearing ordinary clothes. Luo Qiulian unexpectedly turned around. The one who stood up for justice was a tall man in his 30s wearing sunglasses. He dressed quite plainly, but stood straight with a slightly familiar aura. Luo Qiulian's face softened and she nodded gratefully at him. The tall female salesperson, however, stubbornly retorted, I didn't intend to scold her. She couldn't take advantage of herself and wanted to argue with me. The man in sunglasses frowned and criticized displeasedly, I just saw that you were the one who deceived the child first and was discovered by her. I feel sorry for the child's injustice, so I came to argue with you. And you used to send ice cream to foreigners, not a single one to us Chinese people. Why, do you think we Chinese people are poorer than foreigners? The tall female salesperson was taken aback and her gaze began to flicker. At this moment, the blonde man who had not yet left blinked his blue eyes and immediately handed the untouched ice cream to Tsong Tsong. He kindly advised Luo Qiulian in non-standard Chinese, Madam, I can give this to this child. You don't have to be angry anymore. Luo Qiulian was somewhat surprised by his rationality, but immediately shook her head and said, Thank you. But I'm sorry, what she gave you is yours. She stared at the tall female salesperson again and said, I want her to bring me another one. Cut. The tall female salesperson immediately pouted disdainfully, You think so? I dare not say anything about others, but you definitely can't afford it. So, I won't give it. At this point, the woman turned to the man in sunglasses and said, You said I don't have one for the people of China. Alright, you watch. She quickly took out a few cups of ice cream from the insulated box in front of her and gave them to several Chinese onlookers around her, saying, These beautiful women and handsome guys, you dress so decently. I believe you all have some assets and want face. I still have some ice cream here, and I will send it to you free of charge now. After handing over the ice cream to these few people, she looked at Luo Qiulian arrogantly and said, As for you, you have the ability. If you prove that you have the money to buy a 300,000 yuan car and didn't come to take advantage of it, then I admit that I misread it. Not only will I send your son an ice cream, but I can also kowtow to you and admit my mistake. So, can you prove it? As the onlookers who had been served ice cream softened their expressions and looked sympathetically at Luo Qiulian, the man in sunglasses furrowed his brows and said displeased again, Little girl, how could you do this? Is a car priced below 300,000 yuan not a car? Our BMA company doesn't have a car worth less than 300,000 yuan. The tall female salesperson said decisively, If she can't spend so much money to become our potential customer, why should she ask me to send her free ice cream? Luo Qiulian was also very surprised. This girl was so arrogant. She played this trick and quickly attracted a group of onlookers, isolating herself. Moreover, I have been standing here for several minutes, and I didn't see any other high-level staff coming to mediate in the BMA exhibition area. Looking at the adjacent exhibition area of El Tiger, 2 staff members were watching the excitement. Luo Qiulian's heart twitched and suddenly sneered. She stared at the tall female salesperson with a cold light in her eyes and said, "Do you think I don't have money?" Seeing the tall female salesperson snorting contemptuously, Luo Qiulian immediately waved to a staff member wearing glasses in the El Tiger exhibition area and said, "That handsome guy with glasses, could you please come over here?" Ah! The young man, who was eating a melon, was taken aback and then pointed to his nose in astonishment. "Me." Luo Qiulian smiled and nodded, "That's right, it's you." The handsome man wearing glasses walked over and said, "Sister, she and I are not from the same company, so I'm afraid we can't be of any help to you." Luo Qiulian interrupted him calmly, "It seems that your El Tiger's car here is not cheaper than their horse's car, is it?" "Of course." The handsome glasses guy immediately stared, "The cars we exhibited are all worth millions of yuan." Then he reacted and looked at her in surprise, "Sister, you don't want to buy our car, do you?" The tall female salesperson and the man with sunglasses are both shocked. The blonde man and several onlookers who had received ice cream were both stunned. Luo Qiulian looked at the tall female salesperson arrogantly and said, "Why not? I came here with my son to buy a car. I originally wanted to see their horse, but her service attitude was too bad. I think your El Tiger is also good." "Yes." Song Song immediately nodded vigorously and said in a milky voice, "I love horses and El Tigers the most." The tall female salesperson's gaze turned and she sneered disdainfully, "Pretend it. All right, you pretend. Why don't you just use the excuse of wanting to see the car and run away quickly? I'll save you trouble." Luo Qiulian was too lazy to refute her at this moment and only looked at the handsome guy with glasses. "Handsome guy, what is the most expensive car model in your store?" "Range Rover, 3.3 million yuan. The bespectacled man said without hesitation, "It's a very comfortable imported car. Of course, it's now during the auto show, with an 88% discount." Luo Qiulian raised her eyebrows and said, "Do you have a car in stock?" "I paid today, can I pick it up immediately?" "There's one, but it's not the top of the line," the glasses man nodded. "It's in the store." "Okay." Luo Qiulian reached out to him and said, "Bring me all the promotional posters, car purchase contracts, and POS machines." Ah! All the onlookers, including the man in sunglasses, were stunned. "Are you going to use a POS machine to swipe your card and pay? Is it really fake? This is over 3 million, not 300,000. Everyone looked at Luo Qiulian carefully again. The clothes were ordinary, and apart from a wedding ring, there were no other valuable jewelry on the body. The little boy is smart and wearing new clothes, which is a slightly better domestic brand. In short, the mother and son don't look like wealthy people. Not even the middle class. The man in sunglasses quickly laughed again, then took off his sunglasses, revealing a pair of extremely lively eyes and a straight nose bridge. He kindly reminded Luo Qiulian, "Big sister, don't you even look at their car or try it." End of this chapter. Chapter 7. This will be a play. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. This will be a play. Luo Qiulian was surprised by the enthusiasm of the man with sunglasses, and then smiled calmly. "I've heard of Range Rover before. It's not a new car, but it's been tested in the market and hasn't had any major accidents, so there's no need to try it out. Today, I'll buy it and drive it. If I don't like it, I'll buy other ones in the future. Anyway," she said. She deliberately looked at the tall female salesperson and said, "I have plenty of money." This last sentence is very domineering. Several melon-eating customers who were still eating ice cream were suddenly surprised and said, "Wow, isn't that right? 3.3 million yuan, she doesn't even look at cars." Is she the kind of invisible billionaire? The man with glasses was also stunned for a moment, and then he reacted and immediately returned to the exhibition area to pick up the POS machine and picture newspaper. The tall female salesperson looked at Luo Qiulian with some suspicion, bit her lips, and froze there without speaking. When the man with glasses returned, another middle-aged man wearing a work license was attracted. "Madam, this is our manager Chu. Sorry, according to the regulations, we also need to see your driver's license." Luo Qiulian immediately smiled and took it out of her bag, showing her driver's license. She took the picture and read it for a while before nodding, "Bring me the car purchase contract." Manager Chu suddenly felt refreshed and quickly handed over a contract with a smile. "Madam, our Range Rover was originally priced at 3.3 million yuan, with an 88% discount during the auto show. You won't lose out on it." At this moment, another middle-aged man wearing a work badge hurriedly walked to the exhibition area and said, "Everyone, I'm sorry to make way." The short female salesperson, who had been silent all along, stepped forward with a boost of energy upon seeing him and said, "Manager Chiu, you're here. It's this big sister." She nervously pointed at Luo Qiulian and said, she helped her son get ice cream, but Yeye refused to send it. Manager Chiu immediately frowned and stared at the tall female salesperson with displeasure. You, what's going on? I just walked away for a while, why did you cause so much trouble? If the quantity of ice cream is not enough, you can apply for a transfer in advance. You can't treat it differently when distributing it. Why don't you apologize to this lady quickly? As soon as she appeared, she criticized the tall woman in pain. It seems that the short female salesperson secretly reported it. The man in sunglasses immediately agreed and said, "Alas, this leader is right. Either we don't do it, or we do it well. We can't dislike poverty and love wealth." Seeing the tall female salesperson's face turn red and white, Luo Qiulian pursed her lips and sneered. Who knows if Manager Chiu is standing far away watching the play, only to show up and pretend to be a good person now that the situation is not good. After Manager Chiu finished criticizing the tall female salesperson, she smiled and said to Luo Qiulian, "Hey, this young mother, I'm sorry. Our store clerk did something wrong just now. I asked her to apologize to you and provide you with 2 more ice creams." Then, he personally opened the incubator and handed 2 ice creams to Luo Qiulian. Luo Qiulian's face darkened slightly as she was about to speak, when she saw the tall female salesperson blush and reached out to stop him. "Manager Chiu, we can't give it yet. Who knows if the 2 of them collaborated in acting to mess with our company. Didn't she say she wanted to buy a Range Rover? Let's wait until she pays." Manager Chiu was momentarily stunned and looked at Luo Qiulian with confusion. Other melon-eating customers present also exclaimed in shock, "Impossible, right? Is this just a show? I also think it's impossible." First of all, she refused to give ice cream, which led to the rest of the situation. If she were willing to let it go, this mommy wouldn't argue over her son. Song Song, who had just reached out to take the ice cream, blushed with anger and shouted angrily, "You're talking nonsense. My mother is rich. It's your fault, you're making excuses." Manager Chu shook his head and sneered, "What kind of person are you using this move, Lao Chiu? What kind of brain circuit is it? Why should I use this kind of means to trick you?" The tall female salesperson screamed sharply, "Who knows? Give her some money privately, let her make a scene, smash the brand of RB horse, and then you become good people and attract traffic. How perfect." Seeing her still speaking confidently, and her originally beautiful face turning into a ferocious and twisted one, Luo Qiulian was immediately enraged and glanced at Manager Chiu, saying, "Manager Chiu, do you also think what you're saying is right?" Seeing Manager Chiu smirk and stutter without expressing her opinion, Luo Qiulian sneered coldly and turned her head to the man in sunglasses standing behind her, saying sincerely, "Sir, thank you for speaking to me just now. Now, I would like to trouble you to find a salesperson from a domestic brand nearby and bring their sedan model posters, contracts, and POS machines worth over £1,000,000. Is that okay? Manager Chu on the side was taken aback and quickly asked, Madam, what about our car? Luo Qiulian smiled slightly at him and said, Don't worry, your car is an off-road vehicle. I will buy it, but I don't need to buy two off-road vehicles, so I asked this gentleman to help me contact the sedan. Have you calculated the money? Manager Chu was taken aback for a moment, then looked at Manager Chiu, whose face turned red and he was a bit frustrated. Then, he chuckled and said loudly, Oh, I understand. You don't want this little girl to tarnish your reputation, so you plan to buy another domestic luxury car. That's right. Luo Qiulian said to herself, Buy one, put one aside, and drive whichever you want. Manager Chiu and the tall female salesperson suddenly froze again, with a hint of disbelief in their eyes. Luo Qiulian ignored them and only urged the man with sunglasses, Sir, I'm sorry, could you please help me get in touch? After a pause, she approached him again and whispered, as a gesture of gratitude, When you bring someone over, I can offer you a referral fee of 1,000 yuan on the spot. The man in sunglasses was taken aback for a moment, then looked deeply at Luo Qiulian and said, Are you sure you want this? This is a few million yuan. Don't you ask your husband? Luo Qiulian's gaze flickered slightly, and she confidently said, I'll decide what to buy at home. And this money isn't much, he won't mind. Oh, a few million yuan, isn't that much? The onlookers are even more impressed and envious. But the man in sunglasses did not miss the moment of unconsciousness in Luo Qiulian's eyes. His heart moved and he advised, It's better for you to call him and let him come. What a ghost. I can't even contact my husband. Who can I call? Luo Qiulian thought to herself and quickly shook her head, He's on a business trip and won't be able to come back. It's okay, he really won't care about this little money. Besides, I just supported a joint venture car, and now I naturally want to support pure domestic cars well, so as not to be accused of worshipping foreign things. The man in sunglasses was taken aback, then gave her a thumbs up and said, You're amazing. Wait a moment, I'll go find you now. Seeing him lift his foot and leave, Manager Chu immediately bent slightly towards Luo Qiulian and handed over his phone. Madam, you are so grand. I admire you. This is all the car fare, are you satisfied with it? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. If you make a mistake, you must apologize. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. If you make a mistake, you must apologize. Luo Qiulian quickly glanced, her face softened, and nodded. Manager Chu's eyes lit up and he immediately sat down on the coffee table, wrote the amount in the car purchase contract, smiled and handed a pen to Luo Qiulian, and instructed the man with glasses behind him, Xiao Lu, hurry up and buy 3 expensive ice creams outside. We'll invite Ms. Luo, the young master, and the boss just now to have ice cream together. Seeing the man with glasses excitedly respond, he turned around and ran outside the exhibition hall. Luo Qiulian smiled and spent a few minutes quickly reading the car purchase contract. After signing her name, she took out her bank card from her bag and said to Manager Chu, Just swipe your card here, so that no one can say I'm playing a prank. How could that be? Manager Chu quickly apologized, I know from your appearance that you came to buy it with intention. He glanced smugly at the embarrassed Manager Chu again, took the card, inserted it into the POS machine, calculated the amount, and respectfully handed it to Luo Qiulian. Luo Qiulian quickly entered the password. A few seconds later, the POS machine beeped out the purchase order. Manager Chu proudly cut off the amount and showed it to Manager Chiu first. Seeing this former competitor's eyes twitching, he felt full of regret and couldn't help but feel relieved. He then casually selected 2 spectators present to take a look at the order and loudly said, Everyone, have you seen it? This is real gold and silver. The two spectators immediately smiled in unison and said, "I really paid. This mommy is so refreshing. I'm looking forward to it now. What brand of car will the person who just left bring over?" Song Song, who had been watching nervously, immediately asked Luo Qiulian eagerly, "Mom, this is what we bought a car for, right?" "Yes." Luo Qiulian smiled and looked at her son. "Baby, we bought a car." Song Song breathed a sigh of relief, then proudly glanced at the tall female salesperson and let out a contemptuous cold snort from his nose. Luo Qiulian could see clearly and couldn't help but smile. "Yes, baby, that's how it works." At this moment, the man in sunglasses strode back with a staff member holding a POS machine, a picture newspaper, and a car purchase contract. "Big girl, I found an H flag for you. They have a new LS 71.5 million yuan. H flag. The light of domestic cars." Luo Qiulian's eyes lit up and she nodded at him with a satisfied smile, "Thank you. By the way, what do you call him, sir?" When she learned that the man with sunglasses was named Luo Qiulian, Luo Qiulian quickly introduced herself and gestured for her son to communicate with Uncle Lu first. Then, she took the picture album from H-Flag car shop assistant Xiao Huang and asked about the price and discount. She asked Xiao Huang to write down the price on the car purchase contract and then looked at Luo Qiulian, saying, "Manager Chu has sent someone to buy ice cream. We have your share, please wait a little longer. In addition, let's add a WeChat account." Luo Qiulian suddenly smiled and said, "Okay." After he added WeChat to Luo Qiulian, he quietly sent the photos of the mother and son he had previously taken on his phone to his friend Su Fiki, saying, "Monk, help me check the information of these mother and son in Wuling City. The woman's name is Luo Qiulian and the child's name is Luo Xiansong." Su Fiki's WeChat replied a minute later, "A pretty mother and son. What's your relationship?" Luo Qiulian. "Don't ask so many questions, check it out quickly. This little boy's eyes and nose are so similar to a missing comrade in arms. As a member of the Special Department of the State, he has been secretly investigating the family situation of the missing comrades in arms for years, but he has no clue. Perhaps we can find clues from this little boy." Later, he was surprised to see Luo Qiulian transfer a 1,000 yuan red envelope on WeChat. Luo Qiulian raised his eyebrows and smiled as he returned it, then wrote on WeChat, "No need, big sister. I can't stand them bullying you like this, but I never thought about collecting money." Then, he looked at Luo Qiulian, who was reading the car purchase contract, and smiled slightly without saying anything. 3 minutes later, Luo Qiulian finished reading the purchase contract for this car and signed a name. At this moment, the man with glasses also hurriedly ran over with 3 cups of ice cream, saying that it was the most expensive ice cream nearby, each costing 25 yuan. Luo Qiulian happily thanked Manager Chu and first intentionally waved her bank card at the tall female salesperson with a graying face, inserting it into the POS machine of the H-Flag store. Many onlookers who were using their phones to shoot this scene immediately discussed again, "Oh, I really did it again. It seems she's not pretending." After waiting for her to enter the password, within 2 seconds, the POS machine slowly spat out the purchase order. Standing beside her, Luo Qiulian intentionally took the order and showed everyone in the front row one by one, "Did you see it clearly?" These few people suddenly exclaimed, "It's over. I bought it. 1.59 million yuan worth of cards. Hegemony, 2 luxury cars, combined to almost 5 million yuan, she didn't even test drive them, just read the picture and signed the contract. This mommy is just trying to slap her face. Yeah, I just wanted to slap my face. Who let these 2 people make my son suffer?" Luo Qiulian thought to herself and took a glass of ice cream from Manager Chu's hand, took a bite, and then looked arrogantly at the tall female salesperson whose face quickly turned red. Shi Shiran said, "Some people just like to see people low with their dog's eyes, holding them high and stepping on them low. This way, it won't work." Sooner or later, they will kick the iron plate. Manager Chu suddenly became happy and teased Manager Chiu, whose face was blue and white with great regret, saying, "Old Chiu, thank you. If it weren't for your staff's operation, we wouldn't have broken yesterday's record for the highest price today." Manager Chiu suffocated and immediately raised his finger in hatred, shouting at the tall female salesperson, "It's you. You're not treating customers well, and you're all focused on deceiving us. From now on, you don't have to do it, get out of here right away. Get lost." Luo Qiulian, who was still sitting in the chair, immediately curled her lips and said, "That's not possible. She didn't kowtow to my son and didn't apologize to me and my son. How can she get out?" "Right." Luo Qiulian, who was also eating ice cream, immediately agreed, "If you do something wrong, you must apologize." Seeing the tall female salesperson's face turn shy and purple, Manager Chu calmly urged, "Little girl, it's not that we bullied you, it's that you did something really wrong. Moreover, you have publicly tarnished Ms. Luo's reputation, and she can definitely claim compensation for mental damages." Luo Qiulian looked admiringly at Manager Chu. "I have some vision, no wonder I can become the sales manager of El Tiger." The tall female salesperson understood and her body trembled. Then, she stood for a moment, suddenly crying and slapping herself loudly, leaving 2 obvious palm prints on both cheeks. Later, she looked pitifully at Luo Qiulian and said, "I'm sorry, Ms. Luo. It was my previous misjudgment and my mistake. I apologize to you. In the future, I won't dare again." This is using self-slapping to exchange for kneeling and kowtowing. However, seeing that she was fanning hard enough, Luo Qiulian let out a soft snort as she ate ice cream and asked Song Song, who was also eating ice cream, "Son, do you forgive her?" End of this chapter. How to make up for Chapter 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How to make up for Chapter 9. Luo Qiunsong blinked his eyes and then nodded solemnly, "Mom, as the teacher said, knowing your mistakes can be corrected, and you are a good child." Since she admitted her mistake, took the initiative to punish herself, apologized, and promised not to make it again in the future, then I won't blame her. Seeing the tall female salesperson's expression relax, Luo Qiunsong added, "However, Mom, I think this is not entirely her fault." He raised his small hand, raised his small face, and pointed at Manager Chiu, saying, "This uncle is the person in charge here. If you have always believed us and criticized this sister when she said we were acting, you wouldn't be so angry, Mom. It's because you asked him, but he didn't answer, Mom, that you got angry and bought another car, proving that we're not acting." After stopping for a while, Song Song said seriously, "We just need to buy 1 car. Now that we are forced to buy an extra one, he should be responsible for this loss. But he hasn't made a statement yet." Luo Qiulian looked at her precious son in great surprise. Analyze in an orderly manner, without any loss. Although the speech was a bit repetitive, the meaning was fully expressed. Many 5-year-old children have to stutter for a long time even to say a complete sentence, and may not be able to say it clearly. The melon-eating crowd present was also greatly surprised. How old is this kid? How clever is he? He said it so clearly. This kid is amazing. After hearing what he said, I also feel that this manager has a problem and is evading responsibility. At this moment, Luo Qiulian smiled approvingly and touched Song Song's head, saying, "Child, you make a lot of sense. Uncle Chiu caused your mother to spend more than 1 million yuan, and we should be responsible." Manager Chiu, who was standing beside him, suddenly gave a sudden shiver and hurriedly defended himself, "No, no, no, Ms. Luo, I have never." Luo Qiulian interrupted him calmly, "Stop talking nonsense. Alternatively, you can compensate me with the money from the H flag, or you won't compensate, but you have to slap yourself 10 times in public and apologize to me and my son. What to do is up to you." The onlookers' eyes lit up immediately, and then they all joined in. "Yes, either apologize and slap yourself, or lose money. Doing something wrong comes with costs. Without apologizing or losing money, how could there be such a good thing? Listening to these gossiping accusations, Manager Qiu, who was filled with regret, blushed with shame, as more and more people gathered around him. A few seconds later, he gritted his teeth and lowered his head, saying, "I'm sorry, Ms. Luo. It was my mistake earlier. I apologize to you and the children." After speaking, he quickly raised his hands, arched back and forth, and slapped himself hard in the face. Every note was played with a loud bang. His face quickly turned red and swollen, and his fingerprints were clearly visible. After 10 slaps, his mouth was bleeding. He looked very embarrassed. Then, he bowed deeply to Luo Qiulian and said, "I hope you can forgive me." Luo Qiulian narrowed her eyes slightly. "I have to admit, the feeling of being publicly apologized is really satisfying. The bad breath in my chest dissipated a lot." She softened her expression and said, "I hope you can remember today's lesson and not be easily influenced by your subordinates anymore." Turning her head, she smiled brightly at Luo Qiulian beside her and said, "Mr. Lu, thank you for helping me just now. It's not a big deal. If you're free today, could you please accompany me to the car inspection again?" After all, did she pay? Luo Qiulian was momentarily stunned, then smiled happily and replied, "Of course you can." He happens to have more contact with her. As they walked out of the auto show and headed to the El Tiger store, Luo Qiulian suddenly asked in confusion, "Mom, we have money today and can afford a car, so we won." They apologized. "But if we can't afford it, will we be ridiculed by that sister?" Luo Qiulian was taken aback. It seems that today's incident has a great impact on the little baby. However, it's a great opportunity for education. After thinking for a moment, she calmly replied, "If we don't have the money to buy a car, I'm sorry to turn back and question her. However, I'm not happy in my heart, so I'll hide it for now and take a video from an angle. As long as I confirm that the sister only sends ice cream to foreigners and not to our own people, I'll put this video online and post some comments that suspect her of worshipping foreign things, waiting for the reaction of netizens." Luo Qiulian immediately asked curiously, "What will happen if I post it online?" "It's possible to stir up this topic. Then, the official of BMA may come forward and explain." Luo Qiulian smiled and touched her son's head. "Of course, we have money now, so if we can fight on the spot, we can fight on the spot." Luo Qiulian immediately laughed on the side and said, "Ms. Luo is very good at teaching her son." Luo Qiulian humbly said, "You flattered me. I just taught him how to try to fight back when he was wronged. Otherwise, he would be ridiculed without reason. If he always endures, over time, he will become a cowardly receiver. That's not good." Luo Qiulian nodded approvingly and said, "Your education is quite good. I believe Song will remember it." "I remember." Luo Qiulian immediately looked up and said, "If you have the ability to hit me in the face, just hit me directly. If you don't have the ability to fight back on the spot, just hold back and find an opportunity to fight back." Luo Qiulian and Luo Qiulian laughed at the same time and gave him a thumbs up. "You're right." So, Luo Qiulian grinned happily. In 15 minutes. When adding WeChat to the El Tiger store and after sales service, Luo Qiulian was taken aback. Oh, Luo Qiulian actually returned that 1,000 yuan. She peeked at Luo Qiulian not far away, blushing and covering her face. Fortunately, she just confidently invited him to inspect the car. And even though he knew she was so wealthy, he still called her big sister. It seems that this person's wealth is not bad either. How to make up for it? With a glance, Luo Qiulian quickly had an idea. So, an hour later, when Luo Qiulian patiently and excellently accompanied the mother and son to finish the free lunch open to car owners in the small cafeteria of the H-Flag store, she once again invited him. "Mr. Lu, since you are not willing to accept my money, tomorrow I will bring Song and his classmates to camp and barbecue at Luo Lake. Come and play for a day, my treat. Luo Qiulian was momentarily stunned, then smiled heartily and said, this way. It's also okay. Yeah, get it done. Luo Qiulian smiled happily. This way, it won't be impolite. Quickly, she led Song Song onto the L Tiger car with a temporary license plate and politely said goodbye. Watching her car slowly leave, Luo Qiulian lowered his head and looked at the message sent by the monk, with a hint of guilt in his deep eyes. Her husband disappeared for 2 years due to a business trip, and that face is clearly his missing comrade in arms. No wonder she repeatedly stated that she can buy a car directly without her husband's consent. She is not short of money now, so he has to secretly take care of their mother and son from other aspects. After leaving the 4S store of H-flag car, Luo Qiulian spent nearly 100,000 yuan in professional outdoor equipment stores and computer stores to buy camping equipment, computers, and phones. She also made an appointment with the outdoor equipment store and sent handsome boy Xiao Yang to Naiwa Lake the next day to help pay for installation. Later, she weighed fresh fruits on the street and drove to the Ziding community where her uncle lived. After parking the car, Luo Qiulian turned around and felt a soft sensation in her heart. In the back seat, Song Song fell asleep sweetly in the newly purchased child safety seat. The long and curved eyelashes, illuminated by the sunlight outside the window, leave a faint shadow under the pink eyelids. The baby's chubby face is tilted to one side, and its small mouth is red and cute. End of this chapter. 10, Chapter 10. Your car is expensive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Your car is expensive. I can't bear to wake up such a lovely baby. Rolling down the car window, turning off the engine, Luo Qiulian moved to the back seat, gently closed the car door, and approached her son. She gave him a kiss on his chubby face, then grabbed his chubby little hand, closed her eyes, and squinted. A gentle breeze, birds chirping and flowers fragrant. In no time, she began to daydream. Until I was awakened by a ringing phone. It was my mother. Luo Qiulian who called and said, "Where have you been?" Luo Qiulian quickly rubbed her eyes and answered, "Oh, we're here, we'll be up soon." At first glance, only half an hour has passed. But my spirits are much better. At this moment, Song Song also woke up with a bewildered look in his eyes and said, "Mom." Luo Qiulian affectionately kissed his forehead and said, "Baby, we're at Uncle's house, won't we sleep anymore?" Song Song affectionately slapped her face and nodded in a milky voice. So, a few minutes later, Luo Qiulian picked up the fruit she had bought and led Luo Qiunsong, who had fully recovered, up the 14th floor. As soon as he entered his uncle's house, he excitedly rushed into the living room with his newly acquired tablet, shouting at the two elderly men sitting on the sofa, Luo Wenhai, the father-in-law of Luo Qiulian, and Nie Haiqing, his mother-in-law, "Grandpa, Grandma, I'm here. I miss you so much." Luo Qiulian couldn't help but laugh. The little baby is like this. The first second, she was still drowsy, in the second, he was already 100 times more energetic. Seeing Nie Haiqing happily embracing Song Song, Luo Qiulian quickly approached to pay her respects, only to find out that her younger uncle Luo Qiuqiang had gone out of town to discuss business and would not be back until tomorrow. Luo Qiunsong, leaning in Nie Haiqing's arms, excitedly boasted to the elderly, "Grandpa and Grandma, good news. My mother has raised a lot of writing fees and bought me a very good tablet." Okay, before she even had a chance to announce, the nanny was the first to reveal her treasure. "Forget it, let's do it now." Nie Xiaoqing looked at her grandson's brand new tablet unexpectedly and quickly asked with a smile, "Oh, your mother has raised the manuscript fee. How much has it increased?" Luo Qiunsong immediately proudly said, "At least 10 million yuan. Nie Xiaoqing immediately cooperated and exclaimed in exaggerated amazement, 10 million. So high. Sitting aside, Luo Qiulian couldn't help but laugh. My mother.in.law must have thought Song Song was exaggerating. Luo Qiulian didn't know where to go, so he immediately nodded his head seriously and said, yeah. It's very tall, so my mom took me to buy an L Tiger car this morning. Sister-in-law Fong Wan, who was sitting beside her, immediately made a sudden realization and said, oh, L Tiger. So. She deliberately looked at Luo Qiulian before smiling and asking, why don't you bring it with you? Luo Qiulian's mouth twitched again. Fong Wan clearly thought that Song Song was referring to the model L Tiger. Luo Qiulian was taken aback for a moment, then widened his round eyes in surprise and looked at Fong Wan, questioning loudly, Auntie, how could I possibly bring such a big car? Uncle B's carriage is usually parked downstairs. At this moment, Fong Wan's son Luo Qiulian's car happened to run out of the bedroom. Upon hearing this, he burst into laughter holding his stomach and said, haha, little brother, you're so funny. My dad's car is a real car, of course it's downstairs, and no one can steal it. Your car is not real, why are you still downstairs? Luo Qiulian looked up at the sky in silence. Oh, my dear son, where can he bear this stimulation? He's definitely going to explode. Sure enough, when mocked by the car, Luo Qiulian immediately exclaimed, you're not right. My mother's car is also a real car. I just bought it at the auto show, it's the same size as Uncle's car, and of course, I can't steal it. Real car. Luo Wenhai, Nye Haiqing, and Fong Wan, who were laughing, were all stunned. A few seconds later, Luo Wenhai turned to look at Luo Qiulian in surprise. Luo Qiulian smiled calmly. Luo Wenhai tentatively asked, did you just buy an L Tiger car? A real car? Yes, Luo Qiulian answered generously, my writing fee has increased a bit. It happens that tomorrow I will take Song Song and his classmates to go camping at Luo Lake. I heard that there is a car exhibition at the car square these days and there are discounts. So I took him to buy a car today. Luo Wenhai's eyes lit up with a flash of brilliance, and he immediately took off his reading glasses and stared at her solemnly, how much is it? The package is 3.28 million yuan, Luo Qiulian replied without changing her expression. There is no need to say that I had to raise my original budget to buy such a luxury car because I wanted to compete for face and breath. Ah! Luo Wenhai, Nye Haiqing, and Fong Wan both petrified. Is it really fake? In the past, Luo Qiulian's monthly manuscript fee was only over 4,000 yuan. How can you buy a luxury car worth millions of yuan with this surge? If it's true, this is not a slight increase, is this a surge? After several seconds, Nye Haiqing, who had digested the news, regained his senses and immediately looked at his second son and daughter.in.law, saying, Xiao Fang, take your car and Song Song to the study to play. Fong Wan understood and gave Luo Qiulian a complex glance. She got up and led two small divine beasts into the study of the carriage, closing the door. Nye Haiqing immediately frowned and scolded Luo Qiulian, Qiulian, you have always been a cautious person. Why didn't you discuss such a big matter of buying a car with us? You have bought such an expensive car all at once. The car is a consumable and doesn't maintain its value. Isn't it a waste of several million yuan? If you need to use a car, you can definitely buy a car worth hundreds of thousands of yuan first. With the money saved, you can also buy a house worth millions of yuan. Although housing prices in first and second tier cities have dropped a bit now, we are in a third tier city, and there will definitely be room for growth in the future. Luo Wenhai nodded in agreement, his expression very serious, and he rarely agreed with his wife's words. Your mother is right, your car is expensive. Sure enough, both the two elders misunderstood. But we can't blame the two elders. Who would have thought that in just a few days, she was unexpectedly bound to the Shinhao system because of her precious son? Her current bank deposits have exceeded several billion, and she can earn another 10 billion every month in the future. Who would know that when she was buying a car, she would encounter such a weird salesperson? Luo Qiulian smiled slightly and calmly explained, Dad, Mom, don't worry, my writing fees have increased a lot now. So, I also bought the house in full. It's next door to my cousin's house, a villa with simple decoration, over 500 square meters. After a few months, I will send in the customized furniture and move in. Luo Wenhai and Nie Haiqing were stunned again. After more than 10 seconds, Nie Haiqing finally regained his senses and immediately asked in shock, Did you really buy a villa at Zunda Mansion? Over 500 square meters. Zunda Mansion is the most luxurious and upscale residential area in this area, with a villa costing at least several million yuan. Is it surprising that the eldest daughter.in.law bought it in full? Isn't that to say that her manuscript fee has directly increased from a few thousand yuan to tens of millions of yuan? Oh, this is not a joke, is it? I don't even make such a quick profit from stock trading. End of this chapter.